India has been consistently making its stance that sovereign's right to tax is so to say sacrosanct. And at the same time, we have seen, if we were to go back to the judgment of the previous court, saying that the fair and equitable treatment to the investors is I mean, that court gave precedence to fair and equitable treatment to investors over the sovereign's right to tax. Now, if you were to read this now in the context of India appealing the award, challenging the award, then uh, if it's challenging on the jurisdiction grounds, taxation grounds, what is going to play out differently? Because that contention or argument has already been overlooked by the previous tribunal.
I don't think anybody has questioned the right of the sovereign to tax such incomes and tax it retrospectively. The right to tax has not been questioned. It's internationally accepted. It's globally accepted. Uh, the uh, the courts in India have also not said. When Vodafone case was decided by the Supreme Court, the law as it stood then did not allow that kind of income on transaction to be taxed. Right. That is why the government brought in the retrospective amendment in 2012. Earlier also, if you know, there is a famous ITC case. Way back in 1978, ITC used to earn certain kind of income or was saving tax on by structuring the transaction. And the then government at some point, I think early 80s, brought the retrospective law, which was upheld all over in all appeals and all. So, and that established that the sovereign right to tax retrospectively is fundamentally correct. It's constitutional. It is not questionable. So I think first point we should remember is that the issue is not about the retrospective taxation, right? It is investors don't like it, which is fine, which is understandable, because if there is no certainty of what is the taxation regime of the day, and I may be taxed later on based on amendment of law, all my business calculations might go awry, right? So therefore, legitimate expectation of investors is fair that you shouldn't do anything retrospectively. But the right of sovereign to tax retrospectively is not questionable, right? So let's get this first thing clearer. The second point which you mentioned is this fair and equitable treatment. This comes from what we used to handle as the BITs or bilateral investment treaties. So globally, there are thousands, more than 3,500 bilateral investment treaties. In all of them, and most of them, this expression that the foreign investors would be given fair and equitable treatment. This is closer to what the other concept in the international trade is, which is most favored nation treatment, right? Here, you're not giving most favored nation because then it equates with other national treatment given to other nation. Here, you are sort of giving a very pious kind of assurance to the investors that your investment here would be treated fairly and equitably, right? That is the assurance in the investment trade. Investors may legitimately expect that when they make the investment, they would receive this kind of treatment, fair and equitable, right? Now, what the investors in the couple of cases which have gone in arbitration, taking the shelter in the investment treaty, is that the retrospective taxation is not a fair and equitable treatment. When you put something taxable retrospectively, then I am subjected to an unfair treatment. It in a way amounts, if you tax my property, like in this case, the shares were taken possession and sold off, it is not only the unfair treatment, but it is also a kind of expropriation. You are expropriating my property, right? Which is also mentioned in the BITs as something which will not be done, right? And therefore, the argument is that you have a right to tax, but by bringing some such kind of taxation, you have been unfair and you have given me inequitable treatment, which amounted to sort of expropriation of my property. And therefore, if I have right on another law, because BITs also have the force of law in India, right? The internet, they amount to international treaties, and international treaties are sort of even the parliament. So the executive power of the government extends to enter into the international treaty, which have the same status of law like any other law. And therefore, the second point I think we should remember is that they are questioning this case, the levy of tax and recovery of the demand by sort of selling off the shares, etc., by sort of appealing or taking resort to another law of India, so to say, or the treaty. And the tribunal in this case has found that the assurance, by the way, almost all our BITs exclude taxation from its scope, which can be interpreted by the government rightly, that even if we have assured you fair and equitable treatment, that doesn't apply to taxation. It applies to, let's say, foreign exchange. We will not nationalize you. We will not deny permits and other things to you to operate. Your customers will not be taken away. But for taxation, very specifically, the BITs exclude, right? And the taxations are governed by what is known as double tax avoidance agreements. So the only concession as far as taxation is concerned is given in the double tax avoidance agreements. So the investor in this case has a legitimate argument, which it will plead when it goes into appeal. It has already used it before the tribunal, that I have a right to be provided fair and equitable treatment. And this retrospective taxation is not a fair and equitable treatment. And therefore, and the government would take this argument very well, that the taxation laws are excluded from the fair and equitable. These are excluded from the BITs, and therefore the tribunal has erred in applying the principle of equitable and fair treatment to the taxation law. So I think this goes on.
If one were to read into what you are saying, of course, both sides will have their arguments. But as you in the very beginning, you stated you don't have a problem. I mean, maybe retrospective taxation was an error on the part of India, but legally speaking, that's not something which is should not be a problem at all. Like retrospective taxation should be always the state's right? That's the sense that you always conveyed.
Let me put it correctly. It is a right, constitutionally upheld, courts upheld and all, but it's not a good right. It's not a good thing to do, right? If somebody were to, let us say, draw a balance sheet of the gains and the losses by on the exercise of the retrospective taxation, possibly there are more minuses than pluses. And therefore, while it's a right, it's not expected to be used commonly, right? And India has not used it every now and then. It is only, I think, second or third instance where retrospective taxation has been used in a major case, right? So one can view the whole thing in a strictly legal sense, but one can also view it in the larger business and investment sense. So in my understanding and my judgment, while India has full right to tax retrospectively, the commercial judgment or the investment judgment from the investment point of view was possibly this was a wrong judgment to do it.
Sir, I don't know if this question is a black and white answer, but on a generic basis, even without specifically mentioning this, but if one were to choose between the sovereign's right to tax and the fair and equitable treatment to investors, then which should be given precedence in your eyes? In your eyes,
the retrospective taxation should be very, very sparingly used.
all right.
The fair and equitable treatment is the principle, though I must caution that the fair and equitable treatment can be interpreted very widely, right? It has it can be misused. There is very, very good reasons for sort of defining this tightly. That is the reason why internationally now, amongst other reasons, this is also one of them, many countries are walking out of these investment treaties, and they are even questioning the what we know SDS, you sort of litigation against the state by the investor, which is what in this case is when the investor went to a tribunal against the state of India, right? And some of the modern treaties don't provide this right to the investors to litigate against the state, right? If you take away this right, then fair and equitable interpretation becomes the interpretation of the government, right? Because you can't question it.
Correct.
So this is, please remember this. So even fair and equitable is a nice principle, but can be misused, right? And therefore, I don't think I would say that the fair and equitable treatment interpreted in whatever way should always have precedence over the right of sovereign to tax retrospective. We are all human beings. Somebody can sort of forget or make a mistake in allowing some legitimate income to sort of not be taxed. And that can only be corrected when you realize this by retrospective. So you can't surrender the right of retrospective taxation, but it should be legitimately exercised only in exceptional cases. The benefit of gain should normally be allowed to remain with the investor, even if it hurts your conscience or the government's conscience. So I think I am, at least I think I am reasonably clear. So it's not this or that. It has to be contextualized and it has to be exercised. Both are, by the way, sovereigns. Sovereigns give fair and equitable treatment, and it is sovereign who sort of levy tax retrospectively. And therefore, the sovereign should decide to use both these in a manner which is for the larger good, or which does bigger good than smaller gain in the form of only tax revenue.